City. Uh, man, the kingdom is falling. The kingdom is falling. Of course, the Texans knocked out Kansas City 20-10 last night, and I actually thought the Texans was going to get that game up. To be totally honest, and they held on. And what that told me is the Chiefs are not who they used to be. Um, the window is closed for now, and I'm gonna give you my reasons why. Uh, Number one, if anybody remember them previous Andy Reid teams back in the Eagles teams in the early 2000s, this is what the Kansas City Chiefs remind me of. People remember Donovan McNabb when he had James Thrash and Todd Pinkston and Freddie Mitchell. This that group that the Kansas City Chiefs got right now. Rasheed Rice, decent receiver, had the potential to be a number one, but I don't know if he's a number one. I think he's a two at best. Xavier Worthy got great speed. He got all the intangibles, but I think he's a slot receiver at best. And Juju Smith Schuster, he's just I'm not going to call him just a guy, but he's not a number one or number two at this point. He's a slot receiver at best. And you have a Travis Kelce at this point, which we saw him uh, drop some big time balls yesterday night. He's not what he used to be. It looks like he's running in mud. And I mean, he's been in the league for what now? Probably been in the league, 12, 13 years at this point now? So, that time has come. And those receivers, those weapons cannot get open. And you can tell Kansas City runs a lot of smoke and mirrors. Patrick Mahomes has to do a lot. Like I said, if anybody remembers those Philadelphia Eagles teams from back in the day, this is what it looks like. Donovan McNabb had to be a magician every Sunday when they played in order to get those receivers open. He had to do everything from with his legs to with his arm. And that's what you're saying happening with Patrick Mahomes. He don't have the weapons. And you knew at some point they've been on this run. They've been in the Super Bowl, the last 5 years? And they paid everybody. Everybody's gotten paid. And Patrick, of course, got the biggest contract that's going to balloon. So at this point now, what you're getting with him is the return on investment. That is the cost of being great. So now you have it where, this team can't really maneuver in the cap like they want to. It's not much they can really do because the payments have ballooned. And what I said in this draft, I said if they would have been able to get like a Harold Fannin Jr. like the Browns got, or one of those tight ends in this last previous draft, that would have served the Chiefs well, in my opinion. I think they screwed up not getting a tight end, especially when they run a very tight end centric offense. Andy Reid is known for running uh, tight end centric offenses. When he had the L.J. Smiths back in the day and the Brent Sellecks, he's always had a tight end that he relied on that made their offense go. And he kind of got away with not having great wide receivers. The Eagles had Terrell Owens for that minute, but he's never had really great wide receivers. He had Tyreek Hill, who, kind of came out of nowhere when they drafted him. He was pretty good. He had those situations, but he kind of came out of nowhere, and they gave him up because they felt like, hey, we can go get another Tyreek Hill replacement or whatever the case may be. And to the Chiefs' credit, they tried to figure it out, and they still won. So we can't sit up here and say that it didn't work out, but I just think the chickens are coming home to roost. And if we look at the numbers, excuse me. Sorry about that if y'all heard that. Speaker on my computer. Uh, if you look at what they got, Patrick Mahomes for everything that he did last night, and Patrick Mahomes didn't play great. He didn't play great. But you can tell he tried to put on his cape in a couple spots. And that Texas defense is good. He went 14 for 33 for 160. And when I look at the receivers, Worthy had 3 catches for 55 yards. She Rice had 4 catches for 34 yards. He had a big drop. So he does not have a great amount of weapons. And this team is supposed to contend every year. And I just think at this point now, it's starting to catch up with them. Now, what they can look at doing is next offseason, they're going to have to trade up in the draft and try to get a couple of these wide receivers. They're going to have to swing for the fences because there's no way you could bring Travis Kelce back next year if he even wants to come back. I'm thinking at this point now he's going to retire. That's my opinion. But I do believe that they should have got one of these tight ends in the draft. Last year's draft was so deep. Like I said, you had the Tyler Warrens, you had the Harold Fannin, you had the Mason Grahams who went to the Jets. It just was a slew of tight ends, and I was just so surprised that they didn't get one. And me personally, it's coming back to bite them because had they had one of those guys that could get off that line of scrimmage like Kelce used to be able to do, it would have opened up that offense a little bit more. And defense, for the most part, defense gave up 20 last night, but the defense has played, for the most part, decent. Chris Jones is starting to come back around a little bit, but I think it's a little too late. And I got to see the video of them earlier today, how they had their heads hanging down. And listen, I kind of question the leadership over there. When everything is going good in Kansas City, they're all rah-rah, slapping fives and everything. But this is like the second or third time I've seen them in adversity, and they don't really, you know what I mean? They don't really show up like they should. So, I wonder about that with them. Being that they are a championship caliber team, and they're still not completely out of it, but they knocking on the door of, going home early. It looked like they may not make this run this year. They may not even sniff the playoffs, the way it's looking. But, we never know. We know they're champions. We know that, they can bounce back. But it don't look good. And I don't think it's really good leadership over there. I think Patrick Mahomes, I think on the field he tries to do what he can, but I don't think he's a natural leader. I don't think he can galvanize the troops like he should. Now, with his play, on the field, I think he does what he can. But, like, as the guy, when the adversity comes, I don't know if he's that natural leader. You see Chris Jones freaking out. You see all these other guys freaking out like they haven't won 2 or 3 Super Bowls. So, for me, that's weird to see that they're, they get kind of fragile-minded. That's just strange for a team that's just a Super Bowl caliber team on a regular. You don't see that steadiness from them, and that's a strange thing. But like I said, when I see the Kansas City Chiefs, you just see a team that's very flawed on offense. And it's only but so much that, Patrick Mahomes could do with what he got. You can even see in the scheme that they run with Matt Nagy and Andy Reid. A lot of it is college basis, a lot of motion, so these guys don't get caught up coming out the breaks because they can't get off the line naturally. So you see all this motion and see all these stacked bunches where they could try to get free. That's why Xavier Worthy gets free, but one-on-one, he gets pressed up on that line. He's not getting off the line. And Rashee Rice, he's a big body. Some days he look like he could be a number one. But, consistency make you a number one. So Kansas City definitely got to look for help in the offseason. They definitely got to look for help in the offseason. And, I'm not sure what their contracts look like going into the 2026 season. But at some point, they're going to have to start retooling. Like I said, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They pay guys. I think they just paid the guard this offseason. Let me check here. So they are projected to be over the salary cap between 25 million and 60 million because they got large cap hits. Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, and Jawan Taylor have massive cap figures in future years. Mahomes' hit is estimated over $78 million. So they got a lot of restructuring to do. They have a lot of restructuring to do. And like I said, this is the price of being great. It's not a bad thing. Uh, at some point, you have to retool. Like I said, they've been running the gambit for the last 5-6 years. But at some point, they got to retool, and that bill come due. And is the window closed? I say they got like one more year. If they don't get out this year, I think 2026, they could get one more year out of it. Maybe you could do some restructuring and bring in a couple more pieces. But after this, Kansas City gonna have to go into a full rebuild. They're gonna have to go into a full rebuild. Unless they hit on these draft picks these next year, where they can come in and fill a lot of those holes, especially like I said on the offensive side. Defensive side of the ball is still pretty good, but as far as the offensive side of the ball go, they're going to have to figure that part out. Can't keep running Kareem Hunt like a battering ram. He's a little long in the tooth at this point. You're not going to be able to probably repay Isaiah Pacheco, so you're going to have to draft a running back too. So Kansas City got a lot of work to do. They have a lot of work to do. So we'll see what happens with them. But look like the Dynasty will be over, at least for now. I don't know how they make it in the playoffs this year. They lose a lot of tiebreakers at this point, so we'll see what happens. Never going to count them out completely, but that window's starting to close on them unless they hit on these draft picks and maybe get a couple good deals in free agency. But they got a lot of restructuring to do.